Here we go. Underground News, Episode 3. The last two episodes I just kind of ranted, so I'll make this about the news this time. Now, I was kind of hesitant to do this because new information keeps coming out every day and it's hard to keep track of it. So I'm just going to do something while I've got a little bit of information. Now, this is some recent news right here. Robert Mueller, who is heading the investigation for the Department of Justice on the collusion topic with Donald Trump. According to a columnist out of a British magazine called The Spectator, Mueller's report is complete. I've known that it's been complete for something like 3 weeks to a month. And at the time that it was supposed to be released, there was some courtroom antics, and they said that the whole thing wasn't going to be released, and then it didn't get released at all, and then now, allegedly, the U.S. Attorney General William Barr, who was appointed by Donald Trump less than a month ago, is preventing these reports from seeing the light of day, and even allegedly preventing the President of the United States from getting indicted. I assume it's going to be under the RICO laws. That's conspiracy. Not conspiracy theory as in a conspiracy theorist, like literal conspiracy. Now, anybody who hasn't... I'm not going to go over the information that's out there regarding the facts that Donald Trump is dirty. I'm not going to go into the facts that he won't release his taxes because he owes $500 million to a unknown, although he's probably pretty well known, Russian oligarch. Because every single business venture that Donald Trump has gone, I mean, the infamous banking cartel that owns all the international banks, which just print out more and more money and drown us in debt. They own Wilbur Ross, and Wilbur Ross owns Donald Trump. And it goes even further than that, and it goes to Russia. Donald Trump's right-hand man, Felix Sater, who is a Russian mob boss, just recently got subpoenaed. I mean, I could go on and on, but it's up to you to do the research in regards to that and figure all that out. I know for a fact that Donald Trump is owned by Russia for the tune of $500 million, like I said, and that's why he won't release his tax reports. And it's clear as day. Mueller knows this. A lot of people in the government know this. It's just bureaucracy, and you're seeing... people are scared of ripping the Band-Aid off. I really don't know. But yeah, I mean, Paul Manafort got sentenced to something like 72 months. No, less than 72. I forget what it was. 36 months in prison. When 6 weeks ago there was speculation that he'd be serving 20 years in jail. Maybe he flipped. Maybe he sang like a bird. Who knows? But for the stuff that he did, which was, he the amount of... He was put in a position that is supposed to be regarded to the highest esteem in this country, and the crimes that he committed should be punished severely. And there's people who have for selling cannabis are doing more time than this person. It's crazy. But maybe he did. Hey, maybe he said everything that he knew, and they gave him a lighter sentence. And we don't know this yet. Everything is sealed. Everything is secretive, and that's just the way that the investigation is going. That's just the way it is. And there's a lot of people here going, using whataboutism. Whataboutism is, Donald Trump's dirty. He's working for Russian oligarchs, and people scream out and say, what about Hillary? Yeah, Hillary's dirty too, but Hillary's not the president of the United States. Hillary doesn't have the potential to destroy our entire economy, send us to war, start a civil war, all in one stroke of the pen, or in this case, 140 characters or less tweet. It's a joke. And another joke is the people that are actually eating up the information without any. There's no verifying evidence that the economy is doing well, and that's the next article, which is 18 big numbers that show the U.S. economy is starting to fall apart very rapidly. And I'll just go through it really quickly. First of all, the backbone of society, other than energy, is farm loan delinquencies just hit the highest level that we've seen in 9 years. And a lot of this has to do with the trade war. The farmers are losing their customer base. We subsidize a lot of farmers. We have them grow large scale, and we get them to sell overseas. It's ridiculous. You can go through. There's millions of store closings. You can search this. Retail apocalypse. RETAILPACALYPSE. Retail apocalypse. Like the apocalypse for retail stores. J.C. Penney's closing stores, Victoria's Secret's closing stores, Gap's closing stores, Payless closing stores, Tesla closing stores, PepsiCo, that's their umbrella company, is laying off many, many workers. I don't know about where you live, but where I live, yes, there is new construction. Yes, there are new businesses opening up, but none of these businesses are mom and pop stores. Every single one of these businesses are corporate money. And the tax cuts that all these big businesses got, and we were promised more jobs and better pay, it never happened. These companies didn't hire people, mainly because they didn't have more work, but they didn't hire people. They started buying their own stocks. And that's what caused the market to go up. In the end of December, we saw the Dow Jones lose about 6,000 points in a few days. And then Steve Mnuchin got on the phone while he was on vacation in Cabo or Cancun or something like that. And he talked to 6 of the largest banks in the country. And he said, no, we don't have a liquidity crisis. Everything is fine. Don't abandon ship. And the Federal Reserve, started printing out money to buy stocks. And that's why the market rebounded. So in 2008, 2009, when the housing market crashed, the mortgage-backed securities crisis, the American taxpayers bailed out the banks, and that's what caused the recession. Because we had to pay for the bank's mistakes. And not even mistakes. They know exactly what they're doing, and they're going to drown the whole world in debt. Fiat-based debt backed by nothing. They knew exactly what they were doing. It wasn't a mistake. Worst slump for core U.S. factory orders in 3 years. Largest decline in Philly Fed business index in more than 7 years. The sales of existing homes are falling. Housing starts are falling. And this is month on month. This isn't a seasonal slump that happens all the time. This is month after month after month. Home sales in California down 17% in 1 month. Home sales in Sacramento County found 22. That's a crisis. That's not a full-blown collapse, but it's a crisis. Student loan debt, there's auto loans, it's an everything bubble, and it's happening. Um, it's going right now. No followers. um, so yeah, in regards to the economy, get your food, get your water. You know, I mean, rice and beans are cheap and they're easy to store. Store them in a cool, dark place. You can go get yourself some bottled water, or you can get the big 5-gallon cool containers that they put upside down in coolers. You can purchase those. Hedge, protect your assets with gold, silver, cryptocurrency. Um, and it doesn't have to be all gloom and doom. You can practice gardening if you don't have much space. You can grow potatoes. You can grow mushrooms without any sunlight. You can grow potatoes. And mushrooms are high in protein and high in vitamin D, tons of antifungal, anti-cancer, antibacterial properties. It's endless. You know, you can grow in containers on a balcony. Any practice is practice. You can grow microgreens. If you don't practice at all, you know, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. But even if you practice a little bit and you fail anyways, you learn how not to fail the next time, hopefully. And that's the best you can do for yourself in the economy. You know, whether you have a family or you live by yourself, it's going to get tough for everybody. The next thing that I've been trying to keep track of, and there's just not too much information, is this Jared Kushner guy. Kushner is the son-in-law of the president, married to, I don't know, one of the bimbos. And yeah, a lot of the news places are saying, I just pulled this from the Daily Beast. You can find it pretty much anywhere. A week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, Jared Kushner made a tour around the Middle East, visiting 6 countries to draw up a peace plan for the Israel-Palestine issue. And the issue is, how should Jerusalem be separated? Because as you know, both sides treat each other like animals, and they're killing each other. The Israeli snipers are killing, you know, children with backpacks on their way to school. The Palestinians are, you know, suicide bombing. It's, you know. So apparently there's this guy, Jared Kushner. This is him right here. He's over in the Middle East drawing up some peace plan. And the problem with this is, whichever side doesn't get their way is going to throw a fit, and we're going to see activity, let's call it. But the headline here is that officials and staffers in the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh were not read in on the details of of Jared Kushner's trip to Saudi Arabia or the meetings he held with the members of the country's royal court last week. Now, this is important because he's meeting with Mohammed bin Salman. He's meeting with look, I understand that there's what's called operational security, which means you don't divulge all the information, in war or anything which is a pretext to war. But we literally have family members deciding the fate of the world. Family members of quite possibly the world's biggest dunce. And furthermore, the significance of this, and this is where I may lose some people because it pertains to eschatology and biblical prophecy. There's this whole scenario surrounding Jerusalem and the quote, the proverbial Antichrist. And supposedly the way it works is the Antichrist will garner a peace plan in the Middle East, and it will be peace, but it will only be a pretext to World War III. And this is a random website. I'll just go through the headlines. You can find this on any. The problem with eschatology is from preacher to preacher, rabbi to rabbi, imam to imam. It differs a little bit, but it all follows a common plan, and it's peace conveyed, peace confirmed, and peace betrayed. And I mean, again, you don't have to believe in God, you don't have to believe in Jesus, you don't have to believe in Allah, you don't have to believe in anything. They believe in it. The people with the guns and the power and the ability to decide what you do in your life. You think you have freedom of choice because you get to choose your toothpaste, you get to choose what car you drive. When these people make a big decision, you don't have a choice. And this is not just your everyday random peace plan, some random treat. This has meaning to it, because it also surrounds what is the third temple. There was times in the history of Jerusalem where there was the first temple, and then it got torn down, and then they built the second temple, and then it got torn down again, and now the entire process of this unraveling of the world, it literally it is literally decided by this third temple event, this third temple prophecy. And what is the third temple? Well, the third temple is that when they get their nation and they get their army and they get their temple, then World War III begins. And they have their nation and they have their army, and they just need their temple. And there are people saying that the temple already exists, and once the temple begins, that's when the peace plan comes. So let's talk about this temple right here. This is called the Sanhedrin. Now, the Sanhedrin was like a court. It was like a group of people. And you can see just really anecdotally, the Second Temple period met in the Temple of Jerusalem. Okay, that was in the Second Temple period. Now, we don't know where. A lot of people think. A lot of people think that the Dome of the Rock is where the temple was, and the Dome of the Rock is a mosque right now. Now, the Dome of the Rock. This is the outside. It's beautiful, mosaic. It's just beautiful. It's a holy site. Look at the ceiling of it. It's awesome. And on the inside, it's literally the Dome of the Rock. It's a dome on a rock. Now, I might get this wrong, but I think this was a place where Abraham was going to sacrifice his son, or sacrifice. I forget. Some of it is, I don't want to get it wrong and have somebody jump down my throat, but this rock is very significant. This might be where Moses was handed the Ten Commandments. I'm not exactly sure. You can look into it for yourself. You can read it. You figure it all out on Wikipedia. This is the Dome of the Rock. Now, some people believe that what needs to happen is the Dome of the Rock needs to be destroyed, and then they build their temple. And if that's the case, what would prompt the destruction of the Dome of the Rock? Well, I mean, do I need to show you pictures of what happens when in War of the Middle East? Look, that's a city. That's what that used to be a city, and now look at it. This is what war in the Middle East looks like. So this is the Sanhedrin, and this is what it looks like right here. Now, when I say that they think that this is where the temple was, I don't really know for sure. And so there are historians, rabbis, imams out there, maybe not imams, but rabbis for sure, who say that that's not where the temple was, because they've already been building something. They found tunnels. This is the Western Wall right here, underground, and they've been building, and the number of seats are exactly, what is it, 71? 71 judges. I believe there's 71 seats in here. And it's tough. There's video out there that shows you the entire complex, but it's tough to find pictures. It is tough to find pictures. Maybe I'm just not entering the correct search criteria. But there is, okay, this says Roman amphitheater, but the underground area where all this is looks exactly like that. Okay, here it is. See this? See this right here? See that right there? That is believed to be what that was. And we can see, if you look right here, there's a tunnel, and that's drainage, that's water. That's in case there's water or rainfall, so that it doesn't erode this rock. It runs underneath here. Now this is ancient architecture. This is believed to be the Sanhedrin, and they even rebuilt it and turned it into a quote-unquote museum. Okay? And is this the temple? Is it built already? This is a great picture. See? So, I mean, are they keeping it a secret by putting it right in front of our face? They're not gonna stand on a mountaintop and say that they've built the third temple or they found it, but is this it? Is it it? Is it the third temple? Have they built their Sanhedrin? There's 71 judges. Have they done it? I don't know. But we do know that there were some important dates that have passed. You know, you can research this date really quickly. Don't watch this video. I mean, yes, nothing happened, right? But that's not how this all works. If they set a date and decided to end the world on the date, they'd be burned at the stake by even people who are adherents to their faith. But what happened on this, and this is what they're saying, Revelation 12 sign. We can look it up. It has to do with a woman, Jupiter going through Virgo, which is the Virgin Mary, and then giving birth to Leo, the lion of Nazareth, of of the conquering tribe of Judah, proverbial Jesus Christ. You know, and you see, yes, it already happened, but we're not sure of the exact stellar alignment, but something big did happen. And we know this because, the person who is our president right here. And I'm bringing you this because Abaddon, or Abaddon, I don't know how to pronounce it, is the Greek equivalent to Apollyon, or in other words, Apollo. Now, he is the destroyer of worlds. Destroyer. In the New Testament of Revelation, an angel called Abaddon is described as the king of an army of locusts. An army of locusts. Maybe not literal locusts, maybe metaphorical locusts, like an army of men and women and you can find Abaddon in Judaism, you can find it in Christianity, you can find it in the Gnostic texts. And the reason why Apollo is important is because when you simply type in Apollo led in his chariot by Aurora, and this is the painting right here. When you type this in and you go to images, it takes you to the 66th floor of the penthouse of our president in the Trump Tower. Now this is pictures of where this quote unquote humble, well, everybody knows he's not humble, but this man who cares so much about the common man, right? This is where he lives. This is it. There's a ceiling painting. Nobody's ever gotten pictures of it. And there's I really wish we could get the ceiling painting. There it is. There's another picture right here. And as you can see, this is Apollo right here in his chariot, led by 4 horses. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're different colors, just like in Revelations. I mean, this is the stuff that they believe in, right? You don't have to believe in it, but this is what they believe in, and this is how they communicate. They communicate right in front of your face, but in very subtle means. I can remember when I was in high school, I didn't pay 2 minutes of mind to any of the information that was in the textbooks because it was irrelevant to me. But now, you can see that it's like they don't want you to know this, but they put it in front of your face to mock you, to laugh in your face. And right here we have this Bank of America mural. Now this is called Jacob's Ladder. Yeah. This is now red and white is not the colors. Black and white is the typical colors on the floors of Masonic lodges. Okay. And our president is a Mason. And this painting is on the wall of the Bank of America Commerce building in Chicago. Okay. Why would they put this? Why wouldn't they just put a mural of people of all colors and creeds just together smiling, holding hands? Why do they have to have this there? You know, it's weird, spooky stuff. You know, and you could look at the murals on the wall of the Denver, Colorado airport. It's weird. It's just weird stuff. And once you open your eyes to these things that are right in front of us, you'll start to pick up on things. And these paintings have interpretations to them, because like I said, this is Jacob's Ladder. Jacob is the name of the... Jacob gave birth to 12 children. Jacob renamed himself of Israel. The 12 tribes of Israel, which are noted in Revelations, are not tribes like the Sioux and the Mohegans and the Hopi and the Comanche and the Apache that stick to a location. The 12 tribes of Israel are a bloodline. And this is Jacob's Ladder. That's Jacob's Ladder. You know the ladder, the never-ending ladder. This is Jacob's Ladder. And we're reading this painting left to right. And we see right here, we see the woman, right? And we see this solar eclipse. Now the solar eclipse was August 21st, 2017, which is close enough to this. This could be the Virgo Mary. Now, these three things, the pyramid, the burning bush, and the burning tree and the person, I don't know what they mean. Could it be the stock market? Could it be the stock market? We'll just look at the Dow Jones. Could it be the stock market? I mean, if we drew a line up to here and down to here in a true pyramidical fashion, maybe. Maybe. If things go the way that they're set up to go, where we're going to see a crash. If this is the stock market going up and the stock market going down, then yes, we can say so, but we don't know till now. The burning bush, does this signify like the wildfires in California that were set by high energy laser weapons designed by the company called Raytheon? I don't know. Or is it just there because the person wanted to fill space? I don't know. But this is not up for debate, in my opinion. We all know who this is. You know, take a guess. And maybe I'm interpreting this a little. Maybe I'm thinking into it, but that looks like clothing of a person in Soviet times. If we click on, let's just type in Soviet Russia. He looks like a Soviet. That's just my opinion. You see? He looks like a Soviet. I'm just saying. I got nothing against Russian people. But it's what's coming to America. We're talking famine. We're talking I'm not just talking market crash. There's famine and there's all types of stuff. And this man right here was born on a blood moon, okay? Was born on a blood moon. When he was inaugurated, he was 70 days, 70 years, 7 months in 70 days. 7 or 70, I can't recall. He was 777. Oh, man. Anyways. The number 7 is important. Because on this super blood wolf moon that occurred January 20th, January 21st, it was exactly halfway. I'll zoom in here. Oh, the picture doesn't get bigger. Go figure. It was exactly halfway between halfway through his first term. Exactly halfway through his first term. And maybe his only term. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But the stock market's been crashing. It's been going down. And the existence of this painting does not prove a conspiracy, but it's all pieces of the puzzle. And some other news, Netanyahu just got questioned on some corruption charges, so it looks like Netanyahu might lose the election. They're kind of priming him for that. We have big elections coming up on April 9th. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm not too well versed in Israeli politics, but slightly after that we have Passover, April 20th, April 19th. It changes, I guess. 2019, 10 days after the election. April 19th to April 27th. Okay. Look out for these days. I'm not saying that World War III will begin. I'm not saying the peace deal will be brokered before Passover and then broken after Passover, or the peace deal will be brokered on the day of the election and after. I'm not setting anything in stone. I mean, and you can read into Passover and everything that it was, and it's a very symbolic day of hardship and crisis and how their people prevailed. You know, but what they are doing is they are using the Bible as a playbook, and they're going through step by step by step by step by step, and making sure that most of it all comes true, so that with everything said and done, they can be like, we are God. We are God. It reminds me of one thing that they had in ancient China called the Mandate of Heaven. And the way the Mandate of Heaven worked was, if there was somebody who was in power, and you walked up to them, and you cut their throat, and you sat in their chair, it meant that you were meant to be ruler because heaven made it so. It's ridiculous, and people could not dispute the claim with evidence. Their only way to dethrone you in that manner would be to kill you. It was crazy, superstitious, barbaric. They would have these things called oracle bones. And it was something so... ox scapula or turtle plastron. And they would throw them into the fire. And when the fire was all said and done, depending on the marks on the fire, they would have a prognostication for how the rice harvests would go. the war, if you would fall in love, if you would become rich, and all this crazy dumb stuff. And it's like, I don't know if anybody ever ate, what was it? There was a cereal that had alphabet letters. If you took, or alphabet soup, and you took your spoon and you swirled it around and you tried to read what the message was, when it's superstition. That's all it is. Um, and yeah, it's not an event. It's the next phase, and we are entering the next phase in 1.5 months' time. They will begin the next phase. The market could collapse before that. War could break out before that. I mean, it almost did in Pakistan and India a week ago. 2 weeks ago. And this is what I'm saying. It's hard to keep up with all of this stuff and be able to present this and not lose myself in all of the information. But coming up very soon is these days, and it's inevitable. Like, it's something called Keynesian economics, okay? I spelt it wrong. Long story short, Keynesian economics is just print, 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 print. Print more money. The national debt crossed over 22 trillion. I saw a statistic out there that the GDP of America grew by $1 trillion. But guess what? Our debt, our bills grew by $1.3 trillion. So that's negative growth. And it's only going to get worse, because what they do is they print out more money and print out more money and print out more money. And you can't just print out more money. It runs on supply and demand. If we were in the desert and we needed water, we would kill for water. If you're on land and you're with 10 people and you've got a spring coming out of the mountainside running 24/7 at the perfect temperature, you're not going to kill for water. You've got plenty of it. The more that they print, the less that money is going to be worth, the less you're going to be able to buy. They're always going to be okay. They're the ones in the positions of power. This is going to affect people. And the reason why I went to the Soviets, if you study what happened in Soviet Russia, there was a divide in philosophies. And the old was replaced in a very bloody fashion by the new. The problem was that the new offered more of the same, just in a different flavor. It offered a lot of hope, a lot of promises, but a lot of people died. A lot of people were killed by the government, which is called democide. And a lot of people died of famine. And there was also conflict and wars between the people. And this was back in the days when people were mainly self-sufficient. A lot of farmers and peasants and factory workers. Not a lot of electricity. Nowadays, even the farmers depend on services from somebody else, and it's going to get bad in America. I was listening to somebody the other day, maybe today, and they said that when this market crashes, it might not ever rebound in my lifetime. Somebody who's 30 years old might not ever see an improvement in the market. That's how bad it's going to be. But, when you get this information, you have a choice. You can be a Pollyanna and just be happy-go-lucky and think that everything's going to be okay. You can become fearful. You can let it paralyze you. Or you can do things. No act of preparation is too small or insignificant. As long as you're taking acts to do so. Learning basic gardening techniques. Even if you just become the best tomato planter in 5-gallon buckets around. Because you can then teach people how to do it, and you can barter your skill and your time for other things. Hey, it's not going to be luxurious, The days of smartphones and Netflix and driving around everywhere and everywhere. Something what I call it the amusement park life, because as kids we always love going to the amusement park, and as adults it's like we find anything and everything we can to go to some form of an amusement park, even if it's in our own home. And it's that life is going to be gone. It's just so yeah, I thought that the Mueller investigation was going to pop up, and hopefully that this guy would take, Mr. Dunce out of office. And hey, it wouldn't be good, but you can if you get cancer, you can just you can just ride it out and suffer and die, or you can try and fight it. And either way, it's gonna be so you're gonna defer from the amusement park life. But, that's what I was hoping. I was hoping for this guy right here to just blow the lid on everything. I mean, in war would probably follow. You never know. When America collapses in their civil unrest, the UN is going to provide aid, and I'm making air quotes when I say aid, because it's going to be the United Nations. And you can look at what the White Helmets do in the Middle East. They're supposed to be providing aid to anybody and everybody, but they're found providing aid to ISIS fighters, to rebels, to people who go around and blow up hospitals and kill women and children, non-military combatants, beheadings, raping, all just in the UN through our tax money. And our presidents support that, even though he says on Twitter that he doesn't support it. He's still printing out those printing presses are running full steam. So yeah, that's it. I guess to sum it all up, I say it is my opinion that the month of April will be the second half of the month of April will be no, the entire month of April. Well, maybe the first week might be quiet, but the entire month of April you'll see a lot of events that set up this third temple event and the coming of the Antichrist, and then Jesus returns and whoom 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 blah 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 blah. Look, reminds me of a Bill Hicks sketch that he did. He said, "You know who's gonna be the first people that Jesus kills when he comes back? He's gonna kill Christians. Why? Because you think that After being crucified, he's gonna come back and want to see another cross? Hell no. It's something like that. If only, if there is a God, I hope he's got a sense of humor, or she. But yeah, that's underground news. That's it for this week. Economic collapse. Our president is a Trojan horse. You know. Third Temple News. This guy right here is about to spark a war. And I have nobody tuning in to my live chats on a 50-minute stream. Oh, I did have somebody. But no messages. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Shut it down.